Yo,
It's good,
the
man.
black therapist in the building. Yeah, what's going on?
you, man.
It's good to see you too, man.
All right.
Awesome, man. Come have a seat in the men's den with your boy. First, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to spend time with me and share a little bit about you, your journey, mental health, black men, and the list goes on. So I just want to say thank you for being
no
here.
doubt, man.
So, you know, on the men's den, a lot of times when we get together as black men, whether it's with your friends, anything, it's always, you know, yo, it's good to see you, bro, and you know, I'm just trying to be like you, you know,
Right.
do those things. But on the men's den, I like for guys to brag on themselves. I like an opportunity to really be like, yo, you that guy, you know.
Right.
So how I get started, I mean, I could like sit here, read off a bio, and tell everybody about how amazing you are, but I'm gonna have you do that. So I want to know, as we get started for our conversation, why are you him? Why are you that guy? Why are you that dude? Why are you one of them ones?
Man, I'm the wrong one to ask that.
down for
But
me.
it's something that, you know, you have to be intentional about like bigging yourself up. First thing is being a husband and being a dad, being a son. Like, I pride myself on family. So that's like my most important job. You know what I'm saying? My kids, my wife, my family. First and foremost.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Come on, keep going.
What
Tell
else?
me more. Tell me more. Why you him? Why you that
Why am I
guy?
him?
You're the black therapist.
Yeah, right?
You know what I'm saying? You that guy. You're a sought after thought speaker. I mean, if we could, we just pull up the Instagram and be like, yo, tell us why you him. Why you that guy?
Right.
Why you have all these followers? Why everybody's coming to you for the information? Tell me more.
So I like to give tangible information, something that you could digest, something that you could take away with you, right? So it's all about, for me, it's like, how can I reach someone? And I feel like it's not with jargon, it's not with speaking over someone, you know what I'm saying, but really just trying to capture and ensure that my followers, content readers are getting something from my messages about mental health. You know what I'm saying? So when I first started in this field, like 20 plus years ago, I knew that there wasn't many black male therapists out there. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be intentional in terms of how I looked, how I presented myself, and the information that I brought, because I know that, especially black men, we want someone that looked like us to get the information. There was always been an absence of us in this field, you know? So I just been riding with that ever since, you know what I'm saying? And I just try to be creative about different things to do, you know what I'm saying? So whether it be conferences, whether it be, you know, small gatherings, just different things, just want to be like, how can I ensure that people are leaving with something? You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about, you know, our attention span is so small, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what can I, one little nugget that somebody could take away with them.
Yeah, because sometimes it really is just reaching one person.
It really is.
Because you don't know the impact that person's going to have. Right. And I think you hit on some great things. And one thing you mentioned is about a conference. And so, you know, from what I know, I heard you got a little son coming down the pipe.
Yes.
You know, a really amazing conference. Tell us a little bit about the conference, the theme, the focus, what people can expect. Because just like you said, not only are you going to give one person a bunch of nuggets, but you can give a lot of men some nuggets. So tell us a little about the conference.
Right. So this is the third year of the Black
third annual. Okay.
Of the Breaking the Ice Black Men's Mental Health Conference.
And tell us about that title. How you breaking the ice.
So that's something that myself and my co-chair came up with, Breaking the Ice. It was something that we wanted something different, wanted to capture people, and this is something new, right? Black men and mental health. So we wanted to kind of break that stigma, break that. It's kind of cold, this topic, right? So it's something that people don't really know how to reach. So we're trying to break that and having conversation. So what we like is that it's an all black male mental health panel of mental health advocates and you know, people in the field, right? So that's what we really wanted to do. It's going to be at Adelphi University, which is my alma mater. So I attended there. And I'm also adjunct professor there. So it's really interesting that the city that it's in, Garden City, which per capita income is like over 100,000, but it's the most segregated, one of the most segregated on Long Island. So it's predominantly white. So it's interesting to have this event there and really breaking that ice, breaking that conversation, because the school's a predominantly, you know, white institution.
Yeah.
So
definitely. Tell me a little bit more just about what are some of the panels, what can people expect?
So we're gonna have breakout rooms, right?
Okay.
We're gonna have a panel, we're gonna have a fireside chat. This year we're gonna be talking more about implementation and policy around mental health. So, for me, I'm past the point of Black men need therapy. That's my slogan when I trademark Black kings need therapy too. Like I feel like we know that already, but I feel like more as a social worker, I do policy and advocacy. So it's like, how can we more have conversation around legislators implementing policy around mental health, especially for Black men?
I want to stay there for a minute and walk me through just in the work that you're doing. What are we'll just say two. What are two policy shifts, implementation, innovation that we may need to see that can really advance mental health and social emotional development for Black men?
Well, I really want to see kind of just a push in New York City specifically, right? So have a coalition around Black men mental health, a task force to ensure, even on the way coming here, I saw a older man on the side of the road that definitely looked like he was in need of help. So definitely more conversation initiatives around pushing, Black men actually getting the services, tangible services, accessible services. Also, when you think about insurance companies, that's another thing that we deal with a lot, just in terms of denials for services, right? They want to cut services. They want to say you only need 6 sessions, things like that. So really having an open conversation around that, the needs of our people, right? And we have insurance companies that not really recognizing that when you cut someone's sessions to 6 sessions, or that really limits the help that they need. And on the other end, therapists that are discontinued from getting paid and things of that nature. So that's why a lot of therapists don't take insurance. That's something that people don't know. That a lot of therapists struggle with the paperwork, struggle with having to, if I want to be licensed in New Jersey, it's a lot of paperwork behind it. So it kind of deters you from wanting to do that. But then therefore, a lot of people can't get access to care.
Yeah, that administrative side of the business is I mean, I don't know any business that has, like, people like the administrative aspect of it, but can definitely be a hindrance to growth and access. And that's one of the big things that we need. We need more access, and it's being cut off.
It's being cut off
in many ways.
Right. So if the New York City roadmap to mental health, it should really look at how access is important, equity is important, and cultural competent therapists are also important, right? So this conference I'm hoping it opens up more Black men going into the field, right? And recognizing that the implementation of policy is so important. So that's the hopes out of this conference.
And follow you on Instagram and following your work. I love the different content. So I want to get into some of the content that you do share because I think it's important. I want to capture it. And so one of the things you talked about are like scriptures for your mental health, right? And I think a lot of times you have in the Black community sometimes like, oh, I don't got a therapist. I pray it away, right? Or and then there's just stigma across Caribbean, whether it's African communities, Caribbean communities around mental health. But tell me, what are some scriptures, or what I believe is you can pray and see a therapist at the same time, right? And that's something we need to embrace. What are some scriptures that we should be thinking about when it comes to mental health and God?
Right, so you think about like, I can do all things through Christ, right? And one of them may be go to a therapist, right? And there's people in the Bible that struggle with mental health, right? But we don't really talk about it. And I think about how God created psychiatrists, right? God created therapists. And if you're supposed to be doing well in every aspect of your life, if you're not functioning at your full capacity, is that God's will, right? So, a lot of people don't know about this Christian-based therapists. So not really realizing that you can go to therapy, they can pray with you, right? They can discuss scriptures, and it's not kind of like this against God, right? So it's not saying that I don't trust in you, God. I can trust in you, God, and go to therapy, right? And also talking about the medical piece. If there is a chemical imbalance, right? That's not anything of your doing, right? That's something you may need medication for. You may need to talk to a therapist about it to get, tips on how to manage those symptoms. So really, it's more about education. So a lot of my content is around education because if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's really just providing psychoeducation. I've been posting a lot about bipolar disorder and what signs and symptoms look like. We say a lot, this weather's bipolar, kind of making kind of those different disparaging remarks around mental health, but it's really important to know what bipolar is because people may be undiagnosed with it, right? So it's really about being informed.
And some of the other things I was on your page and looking through, and it was talking about the struggle for specifically Black men around finding balance, right? And I personally think I've kind of struggled with that. If anything, I've actually tried to move to this concept of like work-life integration, which is like, all right, here's all the different things I'm doing, and how do I make it integrate together as a system? But talk to us about Black men and how to find balance, because it's something that Black men struggle with.
Absolutely. So one, I'm still trying to work on that myself. So it's definitely about, especially if you have a family, work, friends, finding time to go to the gym. So it's just really about finding a wellness package, as I call it, right? So finding what would work for you to prevent being overwhelmed. So it looks different for everyone, but it's really about being intentional about the things that you need to do. So whether it's be your spirituality, I look at the 7 dimensions of wellness, right, around that, and just how can you be intentional about all those different areas. My reason to bring attention to it is because sometimes we don't think about it. But as men, it's important that we also find time to chill with your boys, find time to spend time with your partner, right? Spend time with your children, and spend time with yourself. So it's really about that awareness.
Another thing that I wanted to chat with you about, because I think it's so important, is how people weaponize therapy, right? And so they'll make comments like, I wrote this down, so I have to make sure. 'Cause it's like, you're so messed up, you really need therapy, or you're just using therapy as an excuse for your behavior. Therapy won't fix your issues, you're beyond help, right? And there's a list of things that people can say that weaponize therapy. Why do we need to make sure we do not weaponize therapy with individuals?
Yeah, and I think it's really harmful to do that, especially we come such a long way where people are actually going now. So now, a lot of people may not want to expose or share that they're going to therapy, right? If you're going to say, well, yeah, you need to talk to your therapist because it's not working. That's not, that's not really helpful, right? It's something that people constantly have to work on, right? And you want to give them that support, right? Because again, we're trying to remove the stigma from it. So if I share with you that I'm going, and now you saying, well, it don't look like it's working, you need to find another therapist, that's really harmful, right? And it sounds like the person, it may be hurt, but you need to find other ways to express your hurt, right? Just saying that I'm hurt, but not kind of exposing that they're going to therapy, because they're actually trying to work on themselves, right? And it's not overnight, right? And I think a lot of people, we're in this fast age, we're trying to get a lot of things done, and social media shows a very fast and immediate result. Yeah. But therapy is not that. Mental wellness is not that. It's an ongoing journey. So while I love to post content, I'm also, when I have speaking engagements, say that this process is not overnight. It's an ongoing journey, right? And you may fall short and you got to pick back up. So I think we need to be mindful about that too.
Yeah, I think about that. That resonates in terms of just the idea of it's a process. Yeah. And you have to have a prolonged engagement in order to reach the outcomes or have your breakthrough. And with that, tell me, for you, right, there was maybe a pivotal moment as you were just growing up through life, you make a decision like, oh, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be, a therapist, I want to be in mental health. Walk me through, the young Black therapist, right, before it was the Black therapist. Right. What were some pivotal moments or things that happened in your life where you were like, this is the field, this is the space I want to be in?
Well, believe it or not, I actually was interested in being in business first, right? So I wanted to actually be a car dealership owner. I wanted to own like a string of car dealerships.
What brand?
It could have been a variety.
Okay.
But I loved BMW at that point.
Yeah.
But and I stumbled upon this field. I would say, but I wouldn't say stumble, but I also would say that you never know where God is, is going to lead you. But I was in school for economics. I went to Queens College and I was studying economics, and I was failing miserably. And at that point, I didn't love college. I said, I need to get out of here. So I tried to find the quickest major. So I said, let me go to sociology, and fell in love with it. I started passing the classes, and I was done. So I was like, what do I do with a sociology degree? And then I got the opportunity to work at a drug treatment program, a methadone program in Brooklyn. I was like 20, 22, and I started working there. And I had like a caseload of like 70 people, and I was doing counseling and anger management groups and stuff like that. So that was kind of the pivotal point. Like, I think, I said, I think I like this. And then I recognized it wasn't, a lot of the directors of the program were all women. You know, they were all women social workers. And I was like, what? I'm like, I know social work was a women-dominated field. And I said, wow. So I said, we need more men, you know, in this field, because a lot of my clients was men. And they used to fill my caseload with all the young kids and all of that stuff that, you know, was dealing with substance abuse. And I kind of recognized that I was like, wow, I could be valuable.
How do we create that pipeline, right? Like, I think, what year was that you just realized there was more women? Man, what year was that?
Man, that was like 2007, 2008, 2009.
So, okay, so 2008, 2009, and here we are 15 years later, still kind of in a somewhat similar scenario.
Right.
There's definitely more.
There's definitely more,
right? And that's why your conference is so important. But it's still nowhere near the number we need. What do we need to do to create that pipeline to allow for more Black men to be in this space?
I think it starts in early education, you know, really starts in early education, you know, vocational counselors, guidance counselors talking to the young men about other opportunities, other occupations in the helping profession. You know, when I talk to my students, you know, I'll see them and they'd be like, oh, you're a therapist, you're a social worker. And they're like, yeah, what is that? And I explained to them. And I was like, well, that's something that you could do, you know what I'm saying? Because they may have an idea what social work would look like, especially ACS worker, you know what I'm saying, social service workers. They kind of see us like that, not realizing there's so many other things that you could do in this field.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think about many people, like, even sometimes I'll talk with students and like, oh, you could be in hospitality and tourism, but the only thing they think about is the hotel person you meet, when there's like all these different jobs and careers in the sector as a whole, and we definitely need to be exposing our students to that. Building on that, how does stigma around mental health play a role in the lack of people wanting to go into mental health, particularly men?
I mean, perhaps they feel like maybe I won't. Well, I think the first thing is they won't make a career out of it. They won't make a living out of it, a living wage out of it, which is not the case. You definitely got to, you know, be creative in terms of how you present yourself, in terms of marketing, whether it be, you know, ebooks and writing, you know, books and writing and conferences and different things like that. But there's definitely opportunity to make money in this field. But I think there's that shifting kind of focus, because, you know, we usually go towards business and engineering and mathematics and medicine and law, but just also knowing that the helping profession is also out there for us. And visibility. So I think more people are seeing more Black male therapists on social media and things like that, on TV and things like that. So it's like bringing more attraction.
And with that, let's say, you know, I'm somebody who is now seeking out a therapist, and I've been doing this prolonged engagement, but sometimes I'm not seeing the benefits I think I should see. Maybe this is not working because, like, why are some reasons that therapy might not be working for a particular individual?
Well, I could give a few. You know, it varies, because one, it may be misdiagnosed. You may not be appropriately diagnosed, right? It may be that you may need medication in addition to the therapy. It may be that the therapist and you haven't made that connection yet. It may be that you haven't really shared the true thing. Sometimes as clients, we leave things out. So the therapists don't know all the information to make the appropriate assessment. So it could be a number of reasons. But definitely you got to be as honest as possible with your therapist, because if you don't tell the doctor your symptoms, how you can't be treated appropriately, right?
That's facts. I think honesty, transparency with your doctor is essential, and it's so interesting because you even see it depicted in movies, and then people are like, oh, so why you didn't tell me X, Y, Z?
Right.
Well, I was a little nervous and whatnot. I was like, I can't help you if you don't give me all the details, all the information. And so I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit, because when I asked you about why you're him, you said, I'm a father,
Right.
I'm a husband. Tell me a little about how you strike some of that balance and showing up your best self as a father and as a husband.
So again, that's something I'm still working on, you know what I'm saying? Because I do a lot, right? So I do a lot. So I definitely try to, when I get home, try to kind of take off all of those other layers and just be a father and be a husband. Sometimes during the drive home is an opportunity to kind of just debrief. So I think it's really important to debrief before you get home, because you're giving all of your energy and your focus to, whether it be your coworkers, whether it be to your clients, right? And then sometimes our family members get the little drips, right? And I feel like we need to work on shifting that, right? That they should be priority getting that. So it's kind of cooling off and kind of thinking before I get home, and kind of so I could present as best as possible. But also being transparent that, my son is 7, my daughter's 4, that, daddy had a long day. My daughter say, she's like, how was your day? And I'm like, it was exhausting, you know what I'm saying? But just being transparent about that and let them know that daddy's tired. But so we sit and chill and try to create a very calm environment.
No, I love that. It sounds like a beautiful household, and building the business and doing everything that you're doing. Talk about doing that alongside your wife.
Man, yeah, we started our practice when my son was 3 months, and in 2016, and it's helpful, knowing each other since we were 14 years old, so kind of build it. Yeah, in high school, we started dating in 9th grade.
Oh, we've been together since 9th grade.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a love story right there.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's great. You know what I'm saying? That having your wife as your partner and all of that stuff, and building life matters to what it is.
And I love that. I think just the whole idea of one in 9th grade and building together and having this beautiful family. That's ideal. What advice? Just on that, I'm just step on that real quick. Double click on this. What advice do you have for people just getting married, and that's a long time, right? So how do you keep that going?
Yeah, so, and we've been through quite some journeys. One thing is that it's important that you maintain the team. Really, really important to maintain the team. It's us against the world. You know what I'm saying? And being intentional about doing things together. Because if you guys are opposite, and even if we have difference of opinions, it's having a conversation about it. Because there's no egos, right? Because I feel like if you have a strength, you bring it to the table, and I got a strength, and together, like we can make it happen. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just, how can we work together to build? You know what I'm saying? And I see a lot of wars between men and women on social media, and it's about who has the biggest table, who's bringing what to the table, and there's nothing wrong with being him or her or whatever your pronoun is, but I think it's also is important that you identify that without that person, you know what I'm saying, not working together, it's not going to be great.
I completely agree, and I just appreciate you just sharing that, because I think, as people watch this and even to see you move, like those are things I think sometimes when we see people, doing dope things, and like, man, how do you, keep it all together? Not saying, because it's hard work, right?
It's hard.
That's why it's like, oh, what does it look like?
And we be tired. We be tired. Who have time to be talking about who's doing more when you're both exhausted? You know what I'm saying? So I really think it's about intentional, but what's the biggest focus? The wellness of ourselves and our children. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the most important thing. We want our children to be well. We want us to be well. And you know what I'm saying? And just moving accordingly.
Going back into just more around like therapy, and just I want to get into like culturally competent, right? And so sometimes you're looking for that therapist who can really understand where you're coming from, right? Especially in the Black community, and even as you go through just the diaspora, right? African, Caribbean, regular Black, you know. What does that look like? How do you find somebody who's like culturally competent? You know, they really understand where you come from, the trials and tribulations of particular demographics, socioeconomic status.
And I think all of that is so important, right? That and not because I'm Jamaican and my client's Jamaican that I'm going to understand every aspect, because we have different experiences being from the same culture, the same island, right? But it's the ability to and the core thing is being able to listen, right? And be non-judgmental. So I think the cultural piece is understanding, right? If you're saying that, you know, you went to the brunch, I was swagging and surfing, you don't have to explain that to me. Now to a white, maybe you may have to, or other, you may have to explain something about that. But it's understood in terms of language. You don't have to shift vernacular, right? So that piece is really important, because you don't want to have to go and explain what this term means, what that term means. So I feel like people really want that comfortability, right, to be able to express themselves freely and not worry about being judged if they are using Ebonics or using patois or whatever like that. So I think that's the biggest thing. But I think with cultural competency, it's most important is, like I said before, is the ability to listen and be non-judgmental. That's the biggest piece. And when clients are seen by a therapist and we do an assessment, the cultural competent piece is so important in terms of when you are making that assessment, right? Because you could be misdiagnosed based off of cultural nuances, right? So if I'm really intentional with my hands and all of this, and I'm talking a certain way, or if I say that, you know, God really spoke to me, right? A clinician not aware of our experience could classify me potentially as schizophrenic, because sometimes you say God spoke to me, and then you say, so what did he say, right? Then you have to go and ask more questions. But in our culture, we say that God spoke to me, right? Or, you know, I'm listening to what God is going to tell me, right? And I'm patiently waiting on the Lord, right? All of that. So the cultural piece is really, really important, because many people have been misdiagnosed.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Wow, that just makes you think about all the hurt that has been caused throughout the years, right? Through misdiagnoses,
right?
You know?
And that's what trust doesn't come in. Like, my cousin went and saw, and they, you know, he in Bellevue or something like that because of that, right? And it may be a piece where he needs to be in there, but maybe not the traumatic way that it happened, you know? So I think it's, families really been through some really difficult experiences, not having cultural competent clinicians or hospitals, and not just even therapists. We're talking about nurses. We're talking about emergency medicine. You know what I'm saying? EDs, and the EDs with doctors and nurses and all of that. So I think all around we need to have and cultural competent teachers also.
Yeah, that's a whole other show. You know,
Right.
when we talk about culturally competence and just in the classroom and what our students need to be experiencing. You have lots of clients. I don't want to break no HIPAA laws or nothing like that, but could you share just like a story that reminds you why you continue to do what you do and keeps you motivated and dedicated to do this work?
I mean, just so many, you know, when, you know, some of my clients just call me mother, like, yo, mother, when I was out, I thought about what you said, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. That's what keeps me going, you know? My students keep me going also, you know, so.
Give me that one story. There's one that I know you got a lot because you know you're really good at what you do, but there's that one that just clicks like, man, it sits there in your head, right? It's like, this is the reason, this is the why, right? We all have our why, but there's a story like that's the why. What's that story?
Man, I gotta think. I mean, been doing this a long time. When I think about I think one particular situation where this young man really started connect the dots in terms of his anger, right? And he shared with me like, yo, I could have wilded out, but I thought about the strategies that you told me, and it prevented me from getting into the situation with my lady. So I felt like that was really pivotal, just in terms of shifting the narrative of what it could have been, right? So it could have gotten really ugly, but him being able to use the common strategies that we discuss. So I think that, especially with the brothers, really being able to kind of have them think a little bit more critically and think before reacting.
Yeah, and that makes me think about your slogan, Black Kings Need Therapy too, right? And why it's so important, because I mean, at this point, you might have saved a life. You might save 2 lives, right? Just through that intentional support to this young man and giving him the strategies so that he could use the skills in his outside of being with you and put them in action. And I think we need more of that, right? That's why we need so many more of us, in the space that we can create it. Because I just think about what the world looks like, what do communities look like when Black men are healed, Black men are whole, are able to, access the full range of what it means to be a man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So what's next for you? It's top of 2024. We got the conference. What else can we expect to see from the Black therapists this year?
Man, I have a few speaking engagements coming up, but I'm so clouded with the conference. So kind of just once that passed, I think I could breathe a little bit. Well, right now it's just intense planning with the conference right now. Once after that, I take a deep breath.
Who are some of the men that are going to be joining you at the conference this year? Some other therapists and people you're booking to come take part?
Right, so we got Dr. Anthony Eastreet, which is the CEO of the National Association of Social Workers, NASW, who's going to be there. We haven't announced the panelists yet, so that's to be announced. And then we have Kevin Livingston from 100 Suits. He's going to be there also, doing dope work in the city and stuff like that. So I'm excited. We're trying to get some legislation bodies in there also, because we're talking about policy. So we definitely want to get some officials in there to kind of have in-depth conversation about what are some things that we could be looking forward to see down the line from mental health.
Why is it important for Black men to have these spaces? Why do we need to ensure that Black men have safe spaces to talk about what's important, what they care about, and just to be safe?
I think it's important. One, we were having these. I think the barbershop used to be in the space usually for these kind of conversations and stuff. But I think is that one, outside of that, other cultures need to see that we are more than what the media shows and portrays, right? Because when you look, there's certain kind of just one way of how we're viewed. And then when these spaces are visible, you can see that we're intelligent, right? And you don't have to use that microaggression. Wow, you speak so well. No, yes, I can. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really important that the world sees that positive images, positive ways that we expressing ourselves and having dope conversation. So I think it's really important. And we continue we are so far compared to where we was when I started in this field over 20 years ago. We've come such a long way, and I feel like it's, the best is yet to come.
Can you share just a little more on that one, about how far we've come? Like illustrate that for me, in words. You, in the last 20 years, we have grown so much, but give me some examples of what it was and where it is now, so we can really paint that picture that we have a long way to go. We shall overcome. Right. We still climbing the mountain. Yes. Right. We still trying to reach the mountaintop, but we have made considerable progress. Kind of tell me what that looks like based off the work that you've been doing, because you've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
So you didn't really see a lot of athletes and rappers talking about their mental health challenges, right? You didn't hear them in lyrics as much. You didn't see them saying, "Hey, I go to a therapist," right? You didn't see a lot of Black male therapists on TV shows, right? Correspondents on news and things of that nature, that representation. So I feel like that has made significant increase. And now we have, with social media, this age where you can have such readily information at your fingertips about it. So I think technology has helped with that. We see how it's shifted in schools, right? So now there's social emotional learning going on, and it's not just restricted just to the girls, right? Because when we think about the genderization of learning, right, how girls is taught a certain way compared to boys. So now everybody is in a part of the SEL learning. So everybody's seeing it, right? So I feel like we've come a long way with the implementation of SEL in learning also, right? So I feel like we've come a long way in a lot of areas, whether it be in schools, whether it be in corporate spaces, right? So now everybody's talking about mental health days, they're talking about wellness days, companies are having wellness days, right? So it's making its mark, right? But we also see an increase in death by suicide also, right? So that's not, that, you know, we see that the numbers are increasing, especially among Black men. So while we are making strides, we still, as we said, have a long way to go.
Definitely, but you know what? You're leading us in the right direction.
I can't take all of it.
No, it's not. You know, I think we just need multiple leaders. When you get to like the beginning of the year, you get a lot of different, like the civil rights movies and all those things, and like there was multiple people, right? Like yes, there's Dr. King, but you have John Lewis, you have Ralph Abernathy, right? And so again, you're one of them ones, right?
Okay.
That's why you're in the men's den,
appreciate
you know
it.
what I mean? So, but what we need everybody in their specialty area in every corner of the world doing their part. When that happens, right? There's somebody in California doing some stuff. There's somebody in Texas. You here in New York City doing your stuff and spreading it through social media, inspiring people. There's people who watch and look at your content, and they got a better day, right? That's a real thing.
Right.
Like some people, I know you know this because some people have probably told you that.
Yes.
Let alone, right? So you're leading the charge, and we appreciate that because that's what we need in order for our community to be where it's at. Right, we need the leaders and the people who know and have the information and are doing the work to put it out there, so we can make a better place.
I like the way you summed that up.
But I appreciate you coming on the Men's Den and just chatting it up with us, sharing more about you, your journey. Looking forward to the upcoming conference, and any way that we can support TheBlackManCan, the Men's Den, please let us know, because in full support. Love the work that you're doing, and thank you for the change that you bring into society.
I appreciate it. All right, brother.